Majority of lads have no clue about programming, and I guarantee you it's the reason why you are not building any muscle. So in these next 5 minutes, I'm going to run you through everything that you need to know about programming and how you can apply it to your own training so that you can make progression. The first thing that we need to cover is the amount of days that you can commit to in the gym. What I want you to do is think about your busiest week and then think about how many days you could fit into that week. From there, we need to think about what split we'll be using. If we're training 3 days a week, I would suggest upper lower full body. If we're training 4 times a week, I would go upper lower times 2. And if we're training 5 days a week, it'll be push pull legs, upper lower. The main aim, as you can tell from those splits, is training every muscle group twice a week and ensuring that we have enough time between each session to recover from. After we look into the split, we need to look into what muscle groups we want to focus on. The reason why we want to know this is because it's going to affect where we place our exercise selection and the amount of volume that we apply to each muscle group. So we need to make sure we're prioritizing them within your program. For instance, if we wanted to focus on chest, we'd place this at the start of our push workout or upper body workout and dedicate the most amount of sets towards that muscle group. Now that we know the split that we're using and the muscle groups we want to focus on, we then need to look at the amount of sets that we're applying to each muscle group. So what I'd suggest doing is anywhere between 6 to 12 hard sets. If it's something that you want to focus on, you want to go towards the higher end, so maybe like 10 or even 11 sets to that muscle group. And if it's something that you don't want to push too hard, potentially dropping towards that lower end, so you can allow the recovery capabilities and have the energy to push those muscle groups that you want to focus on. And when it comes to the amount of exercise that we choose, we're looking around 7 exercises per session. So now you have to pick your exercises. The majority of our exercises want to be worked in the stretch range or what we call the lengthen range, because this has been shown to give us the best bang for our buck. This is stuff like seated dumbbell curls, single arm cable lateral raises, flat dumbbell press, incline Smith machine press, or squat pattern movement, a hinge. These sorts of exercises are going to challenge that muscle in the stretch range, and again, they get the most bang for its buck. And then also not forgetting to remember the difference between our compound exercises and then also our isolation exercises. Compound exercises are multi-joint exercises, meaning that multiple muscle groups will be used in order to move that load. So you have to take that into consideration when distributing your volume. For instance, a squat pattern movement will probably use your quads and also your glutes. So you've got to remember to take that into account when you're applying your sets to each muscle group. And then isolation exercises like your pec decks, curls, leg extensions, seated hamstring curls will only be using, for the most part, that single muscle group. So this will need to come into consideration with your volume as a whole when building your program and picking your exercises. Now to top it off, let's look how we can apply this to a set program. So let's say, for instance, we were training 4 days a week. We wanted to focus on our chest, our back, and also our quads in that program for a set period of time. This is how we'd go around it. Start one of our lower days with potentially a isolation exercise for the quads, so like a leg extension, and then going on to a squat pattern movement like a hack squat, pendulum squat, barbell squat, or even a dumbbell split squat. So you're attacking the quads while you're nice and fresh, and you can apply the most amount of effort towards that muscle group that you want to be working on. Then we can finish the session off with a hinge movement like an RDL or 45-degree hip extension, and then include a few more isolation exercises like a lion or seated hamstring curl, adductor, and then some direct calf work as well. A decent rule of thumb that I use when building my programs is 2 sets for my compound exercises, so those multi-joint exercises using multiple muscle groups, and then 3 sets on the isolation exercises. This is because those compound exercises will be more taxing, so we can't do as much of them, and too many sets towards them will end up having a diminishing return. Then going on to our upper body day with a chest and shoulder focus, we'd start off our session with, let's say for instance, an incline dumbbell press, and then going on to a shoulder press as well. So again, including the muscle groups that we want to focus on towards the front end of the workout, and then splattering them in throughout the workout as well, but including those other muscle groups. So for instance, you can go incline dumbbell press, machine shoulder press, then you can go into a lat biased exercise, so a lat pull down or single arm pull down, then back onto chest where we could do a flat Smith machine press, back onto shoulders where we could do a single arm lateral raise, and then finishing off with the upper back with a T-bar row. That's a decent example of how you could set it up with prioritizing the shoulders and chest. Then going on to intensifiers, would I use any? Maybe if there was a time constraint, I would include some supersets with some opposing muscle groups, so chest and back, shoulders and back, or biceps and triceps. using those opposing muscle groups and opposing movement patterns, so we're not fatiguing that same muscle group twice. But unless there was a time constraint, I would not use supersets and stick with just straight sets across the board. But to top it off, how you execute each exercise is going to be the most important thing. You could have the best program in the world, but if you do not know how to apply it by moving correctly, targeting the set muscle groups that you're trying to train, taking your sets to a close proximity of failure, understanding tempo, depth, range of motion, all these different things, then you aren't going to see the progress that you want to. Which is why with my one-to-one clients, I review their training on a week-to-week basis to make sure that they're not only got a program that will work directly for them, but also they are getting that program reviewed, so they're applying everything as they should be within the gym. If you're interested in how I can help you take all the guesswork from all your training and nutrition, then drop me a DM on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video.